So today on Remote Control, we're going to shine a quick spotlight on a character or a person I think is more important to the Canadian fabric than anybody ever gives credit for. He's the gay Don Cherry. In real life, he's gay as well, but that's the only way I can describe him. What he says, people used to listen to at the edge of their seat or at the edge of the bar stool on many occasions. Of course, who else but Charles Butterick, Buddy Cole. Now, this Kids in the Hall fictional character is created and portrayed by Canadian actor comedian Scott Thompson, who basically would take 3 to 5 minutes of every Kids in the Hall episode, half-hour episode, to describe what was going on in his personal life, in his professional life, and basically his take on being Canadian, the famous skit where Americans know as much as Canadians as straight people know about gays. And to my American family, if you don't like that comment, stick it. You know nothing about Canada. I can tell Americans if go fuck themselves and said, "What a Canadian is so, he doesn't really mean it, does he? Because he's Canadian." Of course we mean it. You know nothing about us. Buddy Cole, the character, is basically half of him is every Canadian, gay, straight, purple, blue, that wants to say to everybody, "I'm here. I'm Canadian. If you don't like it, take off." No pun intended. The character was on the Kids in the Hall for a number of years, and he also had a recurring role as the Buddy Cole character on the Colbert Report. Now, the character itself, there's allegations that Thompson came up, and him and writer Paul Bellini actually did a co-author of a book called Buddy Babylon, the autobiography of Buddy Cole, which kind of explains it's fictional. But according to the book, he was the youngest of 23 children born to pig farmers in Saint-Hubert-sur-le-Lac, Quebec. Uh, it, which is kind of ironic because that's the straightest region of Quebec because it's farm country and all of that. And according to the book, his hard partying lifestyle once led him to a brief lavender marriage with a Hollywood actress named Tandy, probably named after a computer. Uh, and from that marriage, he is stepfather to a pair of unfortunate conjoined twins named, get this, little Newhart Show plug, or Bob Newhart Show, Suzanne and Plachette. Okay. Now, according to a lot of my friends in Halifax, Toronto, and the gay, what do you call Charles Street, a lot of the gay parts of Canada, and some in the States, his appearances used to be taped from Kids in Hall and showed on a loop or showed in succession well before the internet really did that. Now, because Buddy was a owner, most times he was owner of this bar that would kind of give soliloquies on what was exactly going on in his personal life or his private life. And most of the time it was heroic, comedic, self-centered, egotistical, and actually very, very honest. Because it was a fictional character, sure, but the gay experience in Canada in the 1990s, gay people were refining themselves because the risk of HIV was reducing. There was a lot more artists that came out of the closet, musicians, actors. It was a golden time, especially in the mid 90s, for being gay in Canada because Buddy Cole was a major character on the best comedy show on television. And he was straightforward. He said, "Listen, I'm gay. I'm not hiding it. This is who I am in real life or part of it." And the character was very, romantic and very, very Canadian. Like what you see is what you get. Now, these long comedic rants about his personal life in the gay community had a lot of in jokes, and he, according to like a subplot, he had a close personal relationship in the show or the Buddy Cole universe, as they call it, with Queen Elizabeth, which actually is played by Thompson in a series of episodes. You have to see that for yourself. I don't want to give too much away. Now, during the second season of Kids in the Hall, Buddy began to get away from the what do you call it, the bar stool or behind the bar, and he started to star in more action-packed sketches. Now, in this first appearance, he becomes the substitute coach of a lesbian softball team. And as a person who comes from Northern New Brunswick, hits a little bit too close to home because you ever seen extended members of my family. There's a few lesbian softball players in my family. My only regret, I never coached them because Buddy came up with the idea first. Now, from then on, and you have to see the Sappho sluggers are just tremendous. Now, from then on, his adventures became extremely more strange when he accidentally murdered a drag queen and to the purchase of a manslave in a parallel Buddy Cole universe of the 1950s. Now, but most part, Buddy's the gay bar. He gave his big monologue, but it was kind of bittersweet in the last appearance of Buddy on their show because he basically gave up on his promiscuous lifestyle. He basically um, lost the bar in a game of strict poker, and he decides to burn it down in order to win back his old boyfriend, a firefighter from Buffalo, a very handsome black man that shows up at the end of the episode. But the big denouement at the end, it was very sad, and goes into Scott Thompson's personal life. There's an Easter egg where the fire is burning, and in the last sketch, a childhood photo of Kurt Cobain, which was actually a good friend of Thompson's, is sitting on the bar as it burns down. So basically, I think the death of Kurt Cobain really hurt him too, and that was sort of exercising the demons. Now, Thompson himself has described Buddy as a butch queen and an alpha fag, pointing out that while extremely effeminate, he's very forceful and strong-willed. Thompson, who uh, he's always had trouble with people accusing of being, Buddy of being a homophobic stereotype. Now, Scott did a lot of characters on the show. We all know that. Some straight, some, where he played one of the two Cathys. He cross dressed in the show like the rest of the members. But if you look at all the Scott Thompson characters, they're quite strong. The matron that creates too many salty hams for her husband and her family, that's just tremendous. Scott Thompson is pretty well the best Kids in the Hall member, not because the other ones are weak, but he was so strong. No matter what part he played, it's sort of like Monty Python. It's different forms of comedy within the same comedy form. Um, but Scott Thompson, a very famous line, he said the whole idea of Buddy Cole being considered a terrible stereotype and a terrible throwback is tragic. He told Orlando Weekly, I mean, most most gay men are more Buddy than Sly Stallone. It's true. Buddy Cole was just speaking the truth of the gay experience. I've been had a pleasure to know a lot of gay people in my extended family, but the self confidence that gay men started to build in the 80s and 90s, Buddy was reflecting that because they were kept away, kept in the closet for a lot of years, and they're out. And they basically said, "Listen, I'm a gay man. I can be an obnoxious gay man, just like a straight man can be obnoxious. Gay men are not obnoxious because they're gay. Some of them are obnoxious because that's just who they are. They just happen to like penis over vagina, and that's just the way it goes. I mean, that's the way it is. Now, but according to rumor, and God bless his soul, Rip Taylor is now dead. Buddy is the nephew of comedian Rip Taylor. I don't know how it ties in with the Quebec background, but now Scott Thompson plays the character here and there. He's played in Buddy Cole for years on stage, and he's done something called the Buddy Cole monologues. And Buddy by Babylon has been re-released through the years to much acclaim. But Buddy Cole, for the Kids in the Hall fans like me, I think Kids in the Hall was on, I think it was 7:30 or 8:30. It wasn't. It was on CBC. It was unedited, like the episodes were unedited. So you got to understand this. For a lot of young kids that were 12, 13 years old in the 1990s, the first really strong gay role model they saw wasn't their older brother or their older uncle or their older aunt, that's married and, living in Halifax and doing comedy or whatever, or running a transport trailer truck. Buddy Cole was the guy, and Buddy used humor, he used sarcasm, and he was a lovable character. Anybody who's watched the Buddy Cole, what do you call it, skits or monologues. But I remember when I Am Canadian came out, and I was watching that, and as it ended, I was laughing so much I was crying, because I have a difficulty with the American members of my family, not because I disrespect them, but they never take us seriously as a nation. And there's Buddy Cole, a strong gay man, summing up the Canadian experience in less than 6 minutes. The only thing I compare it with is a National Film Board documentary. Get this, you're gonna love the parallels about the 1972 Summit Series, where they're talking to different people, and there's two conversations that is kind of linked to Buddy Cole. The guy in the 72 series said, God is Canadian because we bet the Russians, and it was a battle of white magic, Canada, against black magic, the Russians. Up until that NFB documentary, to the Buddy Cole experience, there was like people couldn't really put the Canadian experience in short terms, like a 3 minute skit. We had the history moments and the I am Canadian, beer commercial, and William Shatner going on here and there. But Buddy Cole is more Canadian than Don Cherry. He's more Canadian than the Canadian flag. He not only wraps himself in the Canadian flag, he wraps himself in the Canadian aesthetic that says we're here, we might be straight, we might be queer, but being Canadian is more important than being gay or straight or disabled, because being Canadian is having the ability to laugh at yourself, to look at yourself with admiration that we've survived. We live by the States, the biggest country in the world, not physically, but monetarily and socially, whatever. But Buddy Cole, through Scott Thompson, through the Kids in the Hall troupe, reestablished the Canadian aesthetic. And the decade of the 90s was big from Canada because we won back the World Hockey Championship. We won the World Series. We were a great CFL. The CFL expanded. Then contracted, we got the CFL back. Shania Twain, Alanis Morissette, all these great Canadian performers. Our actors, Kiefer Sutherland, Donald Sutherland, Christopher Plummer made a comeback. All the remnants of the SCTV, And I honestly think if John Candy would have lived, I think he could have done a movie with Buddy Cole. And that's what I really don't understand why. There's never been a Buddy Cole big screen movie. If I had the money, I'd produce it. But Scott Thompson, of course, he's had some health concerns over the years. I don't want to get into it because that's personal. But, just knowing a person like Scott Thompson exists and has created such a character, my God, they'll bury him in a Canadian flag. It might be a pink Canadian flag, who knows? Or whatever color he wants. But I like to say thank you, Scott Thompson. You made me a better Canadian because I know we needed you at the time. And we're nearing separation in the mid-90s. We bet the Parti Québécois. Canada made a comeback in the 1990s, and part of it owes that to Scott Thompson and Buddy Cole. And the other, like I said, Stompin' Tom, Katie Lang, Buddy Cole, the list goes on. Heroes. And our really bad Canadian pop music in the 90s as well. You know what I'm talking about. So on this beautiful February day, we tell everybody to leave your stick on the ice. And lots of Buddy Cole on YouTube. Check it out. But especially the lesbian softball team, because there's so much subtext in there. Especially, you'll have to see it to believe it, because, labels. That kind of sums it up. See, by the way, I'm gonna not come into the closet. I'm a straight man, but I love my gay comedy, Living Color, the two thumbs up, Men on Film, and all that. The ability to laugh at herself and laugh at things that make you laugh or make you smile. I think there's nothing funnier than a gay man at a bar in Halifax, Moncton, St. John, Flagship in Campbellton, that's a plug, going on a spiel about their boyfriend or the bad date or whatever is tremendous, because it's truth. Jennifer Smith, my friend, always likes to say you got to speak your truth. And by the way, this is dedicated to you, Jennifer, because my truth is this. I am Canadian. I am Buddy Cole. And I fly that flag high. I'm not gay, but like Buddy, if Buddy came on to me, I said, Buddy, listen, I'm not interested, but let's have a Molson Canadian. We'll talk about some of your old girlfriends. I'll talk about my old girlfriends, and we'll share battle scars, just like Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss and Jaws. I like to sit down with Buddy to have a beer, or in my case, a Diet Pepsi because I'm an alcoholic. But maybe I'll buy Buddy a good New Brunswick beer like Moose said. Maybe he never had a Moose head. Anyway, that feels good. Have a good day. Bye.